I'm looking at you, and can it be? Welcome back to NoPro Worship. My name is David Wesley. Last week we talked about 4 steps that you can go through when you're evaluating new songs to introduce at your church. We briefly touched on a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And when I say near and dear, I mean it's been the source of endless frustration for at least 15 years for me. And that is, how can worship leaders sing in a range that is comfortable for your congregation? My main source of frustration when it comes to key selection and vocal range has to do with the fact that all of the information that a worship leader could possibly want or need on this issue is out there. It's freely available on the internet. It's just a Google search away. You could do a search for how to choose keys for congregations and bring up literally dozens of articles and videos that substantially agree on the fundamentals that I want to talk about. You could make consistently good decisions for the betterment of your congregation's worship experiences if you will seek out this information and apply it. That's all that you need to do. So there definitely are some obstacles that stand between your congregation and consistently being able to sing in reasonable, comfortable vocal range. The first is the songs that you sing. Now this does have more to do with songs written in the last 15 years or so that seem to have an ever-widening vocal range to the point that the average untrained singer can't sing them. Now, there are some hymns that offend in this way too. I'm looking at you, and can it be? When you have a wide vocal range, it doesn't matter what key you do it in, because the low notes will be too low or the high notes will be too high, and often you'll have people just throwing their hands up in a bad way and singing no notes. They're simply left behind.
You left me behind.
No one gets left behind.
So the best thing that you can do is actually to curate your songs better, to not introduce songs that have these super wide vocal ranges. Now, short of that, you can decide that there are certain ones that are worth keeping, but you want to make sure that you're not using them too often, or that you're not using too many of them back to back. The second obstacle is actually the worship leader. If you don't have leaders that are approachable, teachable, accepting of criticism, and genuinely responsive to the needs of the congregation, you could lay out all the articles and videos you want and nothing's going to happen. I know, because I was this person. When I was an intern, I bristled underneath the teaching of my pastor, but I definitely understand the wisdom of a lot of the things that he was trying to teach me. You can also have issues of pride or insecurity, and unfortunately they can look like the same thing. An example is, if you do have a song that has more wiggle room in terms of what keys you can choose, a worship leader might choose the song that their own voice sounds good in, so that they can sing with confidence. Now, they might put out a good performance, but if the congregation can't keep up with them because of their key selection, it doesn't matter how good the performance is, because the congregation has gone from a worshiping group to a group of spectators. The last obstacle is a decline in musical literacy in the church. When your church is no longer reading out of a hymn book every week, people aren't exposed to what a friend of mine liked to call the sticks and dots on the paper, the staff paper. You become a little bit disconnected from what you're actually singing when you don't see the notes. Also, if you're being led by a guitar player that doesn't have much of a music theory background and only uses chord charts, there is again a bigger disconnect from the notes that are being sung from the rhythms and the chords that are being played by the band. So to address some of these obstacles, I've actually almost completed a new computer program. I can input a melody and it spits back all sorts of useful information, including a very clear visual representation of the highs and lows of the notes of a song, as well as a pitch map that shows the range of the song and bars that show how much of the song is spent on certain notes. You can transpose the song up and down to find the best key for your congregation. So this tool, I hope to do a walkthrough in about 2 weeks' time. Next week is Good Friday, so there won't be a NoPro worship video. Instead, I hope to publish a new a cappella music video. So until I see you next time on NoPro worship, I just want to remind you that I make these videos because I believe that the church deserves leaders that grow, and that congregations shouldn't be left behind because of our lack of training. So this video is brought to you by my patrons on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting this ministry, you can visit me at patreon.com/DavidWesley, and I will see you next week.